going? Hopefully you are good where you're at. Today was a long, sticky day. It's hot and muggy, but such is summer. I'm out for my 3-mile walk. Well, actually, this time of day, I think it's only like 2 miles because I walk 3 miles in a whole day. So majority, I think my Fitbit says I walk like 1.5 miles just at work. Anyway, we're talking about why we need to reform juvenile detention centers in this one. It's not going to be for everybody, but I have worked with teenagers before. I was also a troubled teen myself, and so just from my perspective, I'm just going to share why we need to reform it, what works and what doesn't, very briefly. Anyway, I have my little notebook. I made some notes. Alright, so first of all, a juvenile detention center, if you don't know what it is, it's basically jail for people who are underage in hopes that you reform them from criminal behavior before they're adult and have a real record and real criminal time. A lot of these people in juvenile detention centers are actually teen addicts or are from very broken homes. Foster homes are prevalent, running away from foster care because of abuse there or whatever, misguided youth. All right, they don't have the best representation of adults, and sometimes they do, and you know, it's just they've tried everything, and the kid has behavioral issues when there should be more of a psych evaluation than throwing them in a cell. That's happening a lot throughout the state. They don't really care about giving time and attention to assessing exactly what each teen needs. Do they need drug rehabilitation? Do they need like actual rehab? Do they have an eating disorder? Are they bipolar? Do they have anxiety? Do they have depression? Now, I'm not for just pumping them full of drugs either, because that's another part of the psych ward that I would like to bring up. The point of putting your teens in a psych ward is not to dope them up so that they can't think or face their problems, but to face their problems head on and help them to do so that they can grow up with valuable tools so they don't have to be incarcerated for the rest of their life. The point of a teen going to a mental health facility is not to keep them there. Yes, there are kids that are severely mentally unstable and for the safety of the public do need to be locked up. And those cases are taken very seriously because there's usually violent crimes associated with that. Evidence to back up why a child would need to stay. But the ones slipping through the cracks are the ones that don't have parents representing or people that go up and check on them and make sure they're not just getting drugged. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just pump these kids full of drugs and make them lay in bed all day or sit in a chair, and they're doing that a lot in the juvenile detention centers as well to keep them calm so there isn't much fighting. Over-drugging is a problem. There really shouldn't be any drugs in the juvenile detention center unless recommended by a psychiatrist. Unfortunately, in these facilities, there's like 2 or 3 psychiatrists to all of the kids there. They are not getting efficient care. They are not getting psychiatrists that actually sit down and figure them out. And this is a chance to really help these kids, because after a certain age of living on the street and living in those situations, like getting them when they are teenagers, you can change their life if you do it correctly. So I say take out the prison, because prison only creates prison mentality. These kids only know violence. They only know dog eat dog world, you know? So when you put them in a prison-like setting, there's always going to be an undertone of authority, which creates chaos for people who, you know, the kids that thrive in juvenile detention centers are leaders who end up growing up to be serious crime lords and shit. They end up running the juvenile detention centers. I don't mean to laugh, but it's true. And then they grow up and they go to prison, and they run the prison because it's comfortable, because they've known it since youth. And this is what I'm getting at. Why is a juvenile detention center the same as a prison if you truly want to reform them? Why are you feeding them to become a criminal like you house in the big house? I say take away detention centers and create detention homes. House arrest situations with 5 to 6 kids max, with psychiatrists there that can maximize having a smaller group at once and keep them all similar. Like each house will be associated with different things like eating disorders, drinking, drug use, anger, running away issues. You know, they throw these kids in juvenile detention for missing school and running away, but they don't really sit and ask why they're running. A lot of abuse. By the time they're teenagers, it's probably been happening since childhood. And they're angry, and they have no outlet, and they don't understand why they were hurt and traumatized, why they're placed in people's homes for help, and these people that they are given to take care of end up doing horrible things to these kids. All they have to turn to is the streets, and I'm telling you, these gang members prime pick little ass kids. They get them at 13, 14 years old to move drugs, get them loyal, get them committed to the gang life so they never stand a fucking chance. That's why I want to help these kids. They have nobody to tell them that there is better, that this is not parenting, this is not a family, these are not people who care about you, they are using you. They have no sense of what that is because all they know is people using other people. They don't know what real love is. They don't know what real family is. It is not their fault that they have become a vicious version of themselves because that is what they're taught. Kids are sponges, and they are the most resilient of all of us, especially teenagers. And they have, on top of it, all of this angst and adolescent shit going on and hormones. And these chemical imbalances can trigger actual physical violence, but they're not actually going to grow up to be a violent person. They just need to learn how to control their anger and to separate their emotions, and sometimes they do need medication. But they're not giving these kids a chance. They're just throwing them. They get in one altercation, and then, you know, a lot of these times, these troubled kids, they don't like authority. They don't like teachers. They don't like counselors. Where is the counselors that can see past that? Can see past the kid being a tough asshole because they've been hurt. And they've heard a million times how we're here to help you and that we care. And with these kids, they don't give a shit about what you say. It's your actions. And none of these psychiatrists get that. You have to get one-on-one with these kids, especially in juvenile detention centers. You have to get down into their level, earn their respect so that they hear you and they learn. And nobody is really willing to do that, and the ones that do are so overburdened and so overtaxed because they don't have other employees like themselves, and they don't get support inside those reforms. Like, you'll see a lot of those psychiatrists or prison guards that, you know, tell on people. You know, they're trying to report abuse inside, or they're trying to report that they need more staff or whatever, and the state just doesn't hear it, brushes under the rug. These kids are being judged so harshly that it's almost like they go in there with a, you know, the whole thing of going in there is to give them a second chance. So when you're going in there with all these strikes above your head, so you're in there and you're basically, as a teenager, a menace to society, and that's the mentality they give you. You're here because you're a problem. Perhaps they are not a problem. Perhaps they have faced many problems and they are too young to have the tools in their box to overcome it. Stop treating these kids like criminals. I know they do horrible things, but hurt people, and these kids don't understand. They've been traumatized, especially the ones in the hood. They grow up hungry. They grow up getting beat. They grow up selling drugs or knowing what drugs is before they even know what money is. You know what I mean? Like, it's not their fault, the circumstances they are placed in. And everybody says, like, well, I came from the hood and I did all right. You probably had good people in your corner at some time. These kids the whole world gives up on them before they're even through the door. That's changing number one. Give a shit.